Welcome to Good Game Pocket Edition, your weekly wrap-up of all things gaming. I'm Hex.
And I'm Bajo, and this week we see what happens when mechs go mainstream in Titanfall.
I need you to retake Charlie immediately.
Online. But before all that, the first chapter of Metal Gear Solid 5 has arrived with Ground Zeroes. While we wait for the full game, Ground Zeroes offers a brief taste of Solid Snake's upcoming open-world adventure. This chapter is based entirely around the one prison map as you evade guards and get your targets to safety. You should expect to see the credits roll within just an hour or two, but after that you're encouraged to complete a handful of bonus missions.
I think this game is going to be a bit divisive amongst fans, Hex, because to me this just felt like a glorified tech demo. I struggle to enjoy those bonus missions, especially the PlayStation-specific one, where you have to try and recreate scenes from the first Metal Gear Solid. How much repetition can we take? I felt bad for the guards after a while because I just kept going back into this prison, taking them out and messing with their stuff. Poor guys, they should quit.
Yeah, I agree it's light on substance, but I'm glad to see they've tightened the combat this time around. Now, when you're spotted, time slows down, so you get a chance to take the guard down before he sounds the alarm. This has left me cautiously optimistic about the full game, but as a standalone experience, Ground Zeroes just doesn't deliver enough, so I gave it 5.5.
Yeah, I think if you're a completionist, you might get a bit more out of this, but I found it so hard to justify that $50 price tag, so I gave it 5 out of 10 rubber chickens. Speaking of games that are hard to justify their price tag, this is Rambo the video game.
Yes, it's an on-rails shooting gallery that harkens back to 90s light gun games. Except there's no light gun support. And it's also so violent that we can't really show much of it here on Pocket Edition. In fact, this is about the only bit we could find that wasn't filled with gore. This is a terrible game, and it neared AAA pricing too, which is just appalling. I gave it 2.5.
I gave it 2 out of 10. Now for something completely different, here's a shooter we can actually show you plenty of.
What is it, Mayor? Mojo Jojo again?
The Powerpuff Girls Defenders of Townsville translates the colourful cartoon show into a straightforward 2D shooter. But alas, Bubbles, Blossom and Buttercup have forgotten their powers because of Mojo Jojo's amnesia ray. And so you must gradually relearn all of your super abilities.
So that's how I throw a punch.
Ah yes, the old amnesia trick where they strip away all your powers so you can relearn them again in a tutorial. And just like the cartoon, at least the action itself is simple, mindless fun. And it's playable with a mouse and keyboard, but I still prefer to plug a controller in.
I could have done without all the backtracking though. The level layouts are already a bit confusing and maze-like, but then you also have to backtrack to rescue the right Powerpuff Girl to open up the next section. There wasn't much to this game, but it's also a fairly cheap download, so I gave it 6 out of 10.
Look at the 6 from me too. This week we also rounded up a bunch of smartphone games. The best of the bunch was aptly titled Smash Hit. This game is all about breaking glass, lots and lots of glass. Tapping the screen fires out ball bearings, but you only have limited ammo, so you'll need to aim your shots well. The only way to progress is by topping up your ammo reserves with these blue crystals. Lose all your balls and it's game over.
It's a deceptively difficult little shooter, isn't it? It looks so simple, but mastering the speed and trajectory of each shot requires some serious skill. And when you're low on balls and choosing your shots carefully, it's all too easy to run into the obstacles and lose more precious balls.
Yeah, this really brought out the perfectionist in me because I found myself just retrying sections constantly until I'd mastered them. The game rewards you for stringing crystal hits together by giving you upgrades like a double and triple shot. It's surprisingly rewarding when you're fully powered up and on a dream run. I gave it 9.
Yeah, this was great. I gave it 9 too. Well, Heck, shall we go answer some questions at the Ask Good Game desk?
Smashing idea, Bajo. I did a pun, you didn't say anything. Well, this week I thought we'd start with a question from Cowman102, who is in Brisbane, Queensland. Hello! In your show, you said how stories can pull you through and make you love an otherwise alright game, like Octodad and Broken Age. Do you think that story is becoming a more important part of games? And if so, what impact do you think this will have on the overall gameplay?
Well, that's a pretty big question, really. On the one hand, I don't think all games actually need a story. Some of the best games are either very light on story or have no story at all. Games like Minecraft, DayZ, Titanfall, all of them deliver great gameplay and let the players create their own stories from that.
I am a sucker for a good narrative though, and I do think games have really matured as a great medium for storytelling. Studios like Naughty Dog and BioWare have been blending believable characters and interesting stories with exciting gameplay to some pretty spectacular effect, particularly in the way that some games allow us to make specific choices about how we roleplay a character, or maybe make decisions that affect the in-game world, the other characters, and even the narrative itself. It's that level of interactivity within video games that so powerfully separates it from the kind of experience you'd find in a film, for example.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's often a tough balancing act for games between having a good story and having that complement the gameplay. Cutscenes and dialogue can be powerful and moving when done right, but they can also be stilted, poorly written, and take you right out of the moment. So there's a real art to finding the right pace between delivering story and keeping that player engaged at the same time.
Yeah, but overall I think gamers are looking for more in-depth storytelling in games, and as a response to that we're seeing games consistently raising the bar with their approach to story and other aspects of narrative.
This is my house.
But at the same time, I think there's always going to be a big place for games that just focus purely on good, well-crafted gameplay. I mean, not every game needs a complex narrative.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think moving forward we'll start to see some advancements in how story is integrated. I'd like to see that line between cutscenes and gameplay blur even more with next-gen capabilities, which might mean more interactivity in cutscenes. I love it when they do that. At the end of the day though, I don't see the fundamentals of gameplay changing that much. There are specific genres and game styles that people will always enjoy, and it's about how we'll see them mature alongside with the writing and how it all blends together. Synergy, Hex.
Well, I think that discussion leads quite nicely into a year review for this week, for The Last of Us Left Behind.
And most of you seemed impressed, like Caleb here, who wrote, "This DLC of The Last of Us is a stunning creation. Two friends on a journey to help Joel. While searching for medical supplies, they both have problems they stumble into. It's so beautiful how Ellie and her friend connect and work together, which this made me just fall to tears for no reason. This for me was one of the best experiences of my life. So that's why I'm gonna rate it 9 out of 9 rubber chickens." And he gave it 8.5 stars.
Reese here was a bit more concise in his praise, writing best DLC ever, 10 out of 10.
It wasn't all glowing praise though, with Hornet Head writing, "No fun without Joel because Joel kicks ass." 2 stars.
And I'm not sure if Dirk Diggler here enjoyed it or not. He wrote, "Very well done," and then gave it 4 stars.
Some interesting thoughts there, but on that note, back to the studio, Hex. Titanfall, in a nutshell, is a multiplayer-focused first-person shooter, but it does a few things differently. Instantly, you notice the incredible agile movement system, made up of double jumps, wall running, and mantling. Maps are also filled with AI grunts that run about, making battles feel more alive. Also, giant frickin' robots fall down from the sky.
Spyglass, open and shut. Yes, sir.
There is a multiplayer campaign, so there is a story, but it's more of a loose premise than an epic saga. The gist of it is humanity has expanded out and colonized loads of planets. And now there's a growing uprising against the original colonizing forces.
Decades-long tensions exploded into all-out war on the frontier today.
The campaign is essentially a playlist of 9 maps that let you play through a slice of this conflict.
There's no epic cutscenes or anything like that, but in lobbies you'll hear some chatter about the upcoming mission.
We have confirmed that the traitor McAllen has joined forces with the militia's First Fleet.
Then there'll be a brief cinematic moment as the game starts, plus a little bit more dialogue and set-piece moments throughout the match.
Sir, that ship. It had no life signs, no shield. Of course, it's a decoy.
Bajo, I tried to follow what was going on, but I find it really hard to focus on all that chatter when I'm, trying to set up loadouts or actually running around inside a match.
Yeah, it is a bit hard to follow, isn't it? But I think that's kind of intentional.
Jump calculations haven't finished yet. We might not give a damn. Just do it. Jump now.
There's a bigger war going on around you, and you're just one soldier amongst it all. And playing through each side only takes a couple of hours, so if you really wanted to, you could play through it again and pick up bits of the story that you missed. It has that familiar and satisfying Call of Duty feel. Weapons are precise, with little recoil, and everything runs at such a frantic pace, you never seem to stay still for more than a second.
AI offline. Pilot mode engaged. Critical damage.
It almost feels like an old school Twitch shooter at times. It's definitely one of the faster paced FPSs out there.
Titans are of course huge and powerful, but they're also easy targets and draw fire from every angle. While pilots are fast and agile, but will get squished if they take on a Titan head on. Take advantage of rooftops and buildings, however, or sneak up behind one, and you can be a real thorn in any Titan's side.
You can also set Titans to either follow you around or guard a spot, and they're formidable with solid AI. If you come across one on autopilot, don't expect them to be a pushover. It'll fight almost as well or even better than some human-piloted ones. It's so hard to resist the urge to jump in your Titan the moment it lands, but if you let them do their thing, you can rack up some kills pretty quickly.
Mono Titan engaging hostile pilot.
I think the Titanfall mechanic in and of itself is just fantastic. When a match starts, your Titan gets a timer counting down to when it can be deployed.
Pilot, your Titan will be ready in 2 minutes.
So every player is going to get one. You don't have to score a 20-kill streak or camp out by vehicle spawns to get to play with the game's coolest toys. You're guaranteed them.
Under attack.
And if you time it right, you can crush an enemy Titan with your Titanfall.
That should cool them off.
But we should wrap this up. Final thoughts, Hex?
Well, this is easily the most fun I've had in a multiplayer game in a long time. I do wish they'd put a little bit more thought into that campaign, but I gave it 8 out of 10.
Yeah, it's just dripping with polish, isn't it? I don't think it's quite revolutionary, but I had so much fun with this game. I gave it 8.5 out of 10 rubber chickens. Well, that's all we've got time for this week for Pocket Edition, but don't forget you can watch regular episodes of Good Game Tuesday nights, 8:30 p.m. on ABC2.
Next week on the show, we unleash our inner superhero with infamous Second Son.
Finally, the first proper open-world next-gen game, and it's set in Seattle. I'm excited to see what next-gen Rain looks like in an open-world, Hex.
He's a very fashionable superhero, though, isn't he? Until next time, may all your games be good ones. Hex out.
Bajo out.